Well, hello everybody. Thanks y'all for coming out this morning for this session, How to Develop a Winning Pitch. My name is Ryan, and as PLR and I were kind of talking about before, obviously I'm an entrepreneur. I was in the Whole Prize in 2018, just a couple years ago, and was one of the top teams there in the accelerator when we went to London. So I'm really excited to sort of jump in with you all and talk about how to develop a winning pitch. And also, like Pilar said, feel free to unmute yourself at any time and jump in, ask questions. I'll have some time for questions at the end, of course, but if you want to chat a question, if you just want to chat like how you're feeling, that's cool. Definitely want this to be, interactive, and it seems like we have a really good and engaged group here. So definitely should be a great session. So the title of this is obviously alluding to a show that some of you might be familiar with. Does anybody know exactly what show I'm talking about? You can chat it. Let me know if you want to unmute.
Shark Tank.
Yes, yes. And how many of y'all do y'all watch Shark Tank? Do y'all like Shark Tank? Any favorite investors? Awesome. Yeah, no, I love Shark Tank. I would probably say Kevin's my favorite, although he's probably like the worst person on the show. I definitely enjoy the drama that comes with it. Okay, cool. It definitely looks like a lot of people watch like the show. So yeah, I mean, Shark Tank definitely provides a opportunity for people to share some of their most refined pitches and that have been practiced and practiced over and over again. And people hate to see Mark's face like this during a pitch, or somebody saying they're out, just because of some small things that they might not be explaining well. And I think this kind of brings up one of the first points that I want to talk about in a pitch before I really jump in, is that you're watching on national television. I didn't even know there was a Shark Tank Mexico. So you're watching either US Shark Tank Mexico, or wherever you are. I know there's different versions of the show abroad. But these people practice their pitches day in and day out, and you might get a face like this if you happen to slip up, pause on the show, forget your lines, and that can be a really, really awkward moment, I would say, to be watching and to see, because this is like the one big stage, and it's like you get your one chance and then you forget what you're saying, right? So before I even like jump into how to get the great pitch, what to include in it and everything, I just want to make sure that the first thing I emphasize is practice, right? So, I know you all have been selected for this program, and are obviously people that are dedicated to what you're doing, and you have ideas that you want to share with the world. But when you share them, you have to make sure that you're prepared, and the only way that you do that is through practice. And you might be saying like, wow, like, I mean, obviously, you have to practice, but practice is really something that, my startup team and I, really learn, especially through the Whole Prize. We'd really like stay up refining our pitch and going over it over and over and over again, just to make sure that all the storytelling and the wording was right, so that we could communicate exactly with our investors exactly what our product is and why we're asking for an investment, or at the Whole Prize, just asking for them to send us on to the final round to pitch for the investment, right? So the practice, I just want to say first and foremost, is like what you want to do with your team. Whenever we finish, going over the tips and tricks for you, you're going to want to revisit them in the future, and you're going to want to make sure that you practice your pitch so that you know it like the back of your hand. But yeah, we'll get into that more. But Before I sort of jump in, I definitely want to tell you all about myself. So my name is Ryan. Like I said, I am a senior at the Gosweda Business School at Emory University, which is a university that's in Atlanta, Georgia, in the U.S. And like I said before, too, I was in the whole prize, named one of the top 20 student-run startups through the accelerator. See myself as an entrepreneur and artist. So I also like, producing music. I like making films. I like photography. So, interestingly enough, I do see sort of a connection between entrepreneurship and artistry. Um,
Yes, guy. I was actually gonna tell you that, like, you should definitely follow him. Like, it's so cool.
yes, 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 please. Yeah, you can find, yeah, like I said at the bottom, connect with me on LinkedIn. You can find me, you can find all my stuff. But, definitely enjoy doing that in my pastimes. Uh, and yeah, I'm also a former marketing intern. I've been at Facebook for 2 years over the past 2 summers, working with their digital marketing team, which is basically working with advertisers to help them, create the right campaigns and everything for their business. Um, yeah, so that's a little bit about me. So I'd love to know where you are from. I know Pilar also kind of told me some of the countries, but if you could just let me know, like in the chat, where exactly you're from, I'd love to know, like who's in here today. You can see the X's is where I am right now, where I'm originally from, which is Maryland, in the U.S. But I'd love to see where you all are from. While I'm waiting, I will send my LinkedIn link.
I can send it.
Oh, thank you.
I was talking you.
Oh, Brazilian from Sao Paulo. Okay, Toluca, Estado de Mexico, Mexico City. Okay, Sao Paulo, Brazil. Brazil. Okay, Toluca, Mexico. Sao Paulo. Wow, a lot of Sao Paulo. Mexico City. Okay. Lima, Peru. Okay.
Yes.
Brazil. Wow. Okay, wow. Yeah, a lot of Brazil in the building, a lot of Mexico in the building. I like the Peru representation as well, Omar. Yeah, awesome. This is definitely a nice diverse group. So yeah, so that's a little bit about me. That's where I'm from. I'm so glad that I could sort of see where everybody in here is from. So I feel a little bit more connected to you all now that I'm talking to you. But yeah, without further ado, I'd love to get into what I call the Magic 10, which are 10 tips for developing a winning pitch and securing an investment. So I would say that these 10 are 10 things that I find are the most important when developing your pitch. And there are obviously other things that I won't talk about here, but I'll definitely allude to them. And feel free to ask questions if you think that maybe I missed something, or there's something else that you think is really important. Um, and try to follow along as much as you can with sort of the points that I'm making, because toward the end of the hour, I'll try to do like a interactive activity with all of us to sort of see how we can relate your ideas into sort of the building blocks for the pitch. Okay, so first, I think the most important piece of developing your pitch is telling a story. No matter who you're talking to, a story is going to be the thing that draws them in the most. It's going, it won't necessarily just be the facts, the numbers, but everyone enjoys a good story, right? I mean, I think, to sort of sidetrack a little bit to say that, look at Disney, for example. I mean, obviously they've built an entire, you could call it empire off of just telling, great stories. And, Pixar Studios has done like a great job as well, in terms of defining what a story is. So honestly, I would love to also hear from you all. Like, for anybody that actually enjoys Disney Pixar movies, let me know if you have a favorite in the chat. Because this also sort of making the point of like, you know, stories are some things that connect us all. I really enjoy. I was actually watching Pocahontas on Disney Plus the other day, which I thought is a great movie. I forgot how good it was. I like The Princess and the Frog. Um, Honestly, all of the Disney movies I feel like are just great. But oh, Monsters Inc. is amazing. Lion King, how could I forget? Yes. Wow. Yeah, so many great. Oh, Aladdin is great. I also watched that again on Disney Plus. Um, but
Finding Dory.
what's that?
Finding Dory.
Yo, Finding Dory is great. Honestly, I didn't think they could. I didn't think they could match Finding Nemo, but they honestly did a great job with that movie. Um,
Shrek. Yeah. So
yes,
good.
I love Shrek. Mulan. Oh, I also watched that. I was like on a Disney Plus binge like last week. So yes, all of these. Yeah, Mulan is amazing. Um, so obviously you can see on my screen right now is sort of like Pixar story spine, right? So this is something that you can model in your pitch when you're telling a story. I think, you know, when if you know, all of you that are familiar with Shark Tank have seen how people tie stories into their pitches, right? And this is something that, you know, my entrepreneurial team sort of took with us, that we learn is that, you know, people will attach to stories. It'll help them remember the information because you're telling, you know, a cohesive storyline that allows them to, you know, connect the dots as to why you're solving the problem you want to solve. So once upon a time, you know, there was something, and then they have like the problem, right? There's a conflict. And because of that, you know, maybe it inspired you to create a product or to do something else. And, you know, that's why you're here today, to sort of get, you know, the support that you need to take this product off the ground, right? So I think it's very important, you know, like I like tying like artistry and entrepreneurship together. And like I said before, is that, you know, you get creative and you tell, you know, whether it's a personal story, whether it's a personal reason you started the company or the startup, or, you know, whether it's, you know, something that you just saw out in the environment, tell the people a story and draw, like walk them through your thought process as to why you started the company that you did. And then when you're giving the product, you know, details and examples, also tell a story there. I think one of the great entrepreneurs that was able to do this well was Steve Jobs. You know, especially I think one of his most popular, you know, announcements was for the iPhone. And he kept doing this thing where he was like, well, you know, what if we had we have the iPod, we have a phone, and we have the internet. And he just kept like going through those. And before, you know, he walked through Blackberries and how they had bulky keyboards. And, you know, he just did a great job tying everything together and walking people sort of down a storyline of saying, you know, this is the missing piece. And it was kind of obvious at the end, like when it hits you, you were like, wow, like why didn't we think of this? And that's really how it should be, you know, with your pitch, right? So start thinking about, you know, even right now, like start thinking about, you know, what is my idea? Why did I start this you know, startup, or why did I come up with this idea? And what story can I tell people about why this is so important? How can I engage people in a storyline that exposes, you know, the truth behind why this product is so important? So that's the first piece, the story. Second is that you want to make sure that your pitch is ideally no longer than 10 minutes. So obviously there will be situations where, you know, you're allotted more time. There might be situations where you're allotted even less time. Like I think I remember for the whole prize, you know, it might have been like 6-minute pitches or 8-minute pitches. So, you know, I think that a golden rule is to stay under 10 minutes. You know, ideally aim for like 9 minutes. You know, but the reason for this is simply that, you know, the less time your pitch takes, the better. A brilliant idea means nothing unless you can distill it into a few moments of, you know, sheer power and you know, just drawing the audience in. Yeah, Luisa said I had to do a 30-second one for NASA space apps. Yeah, 30-second. Yeah, that's definitely tough. And I think one of the things I want to say here too is that you'll have different versions of your pitch, right? Like you might actually need to develop a 30-second one, for an elevator pitch. Obviously, that situation where you run into somebody really important and they're like on the run, and you only have like 20 seconds to get your idea out to say, they're like, what do you do? What do you make? And you can't, spend 8 minutes explaining every portion of your product in your company, right? So I think it's important, I want to say here is that one, you're very concise with your pitch, and second is that you have two different versions of your pitch. So thanks, Lisa, for bringing that up, because it is crazy to think that you'll need to do a very, very short pitch. So definitely consider the importance of distilling all of your information down into a very, very condensed and concise speech. Because obviously, if you're taking too long, investors are going to be bored. They're not really going to be too engaged, even if they give you all day on a phone call. I think that the more concise you can be, it shows how effective you can be with each of your words. So I would say definitely to practice your timing. I think that going back to the practice conversation we are having earlier, you're going to practice a lot, and when you get on stage, a common thing is that I'll get nervous. I know my teammates would get nervous a little bit, and you'll speak a little faster. So definitely take into account that you might get on stage and start not rambling, but going a little faster than you would in practice. So I would just make sure you give yourself under 10 minutes when you're practicing, and then when you're on that phone call with the investor and they're like, okay, well, tell me about the potential of me investing in your company. You won't go on for 15, 20 minutes trying to explain your company. You can probably get it off in like 7 or 8 minutes, while getting to all the important information that you need to. Now, another connection to artistry is design. I am really into making sure that your slides are designed for success. And I think this is maybe a more obvious piece. I have this picture right here. It's like you don't want your slides to be full of content and full of words and full of numbers. My advice for you here is that you want to make sure that your slides are more condensed, and then you give the investor, either a one pager or, a read along for the slide deck that has a lot more information. But you don't want to make your slides too cluttered. You want them to focus on more what you're saying and use the slides as an additional visual aid for them to be helped in understanding what you're saying. So make sure that you are utilizing the space on your slides appropriately, and like I said, have a separate handout or one pager with more details, so that if they want more details on a specific number, specific topic that you're talking about in your slides, then you'll be able to share that information with them. Now I'm going to talk about explaining things. So I think the first most important thing is that you want to be able to explain your product concisely and clearly. So I know that for my startup, this was incredibly hard. And I'm sure that, with whatever idea you have, it is also incredibly hard. I'm sure you have people walk up to you and say, what do you do? Or what is your startup? Or, what idea do you have? And your brain might go in like a million different directions thinking about, okay, so like, what's the most important? What do I say now? And, I think that, in your pitch, you're definitely going to want to make sure that when you come across your product, you explain it concisely and clearly, but also have a one-liner that, you sort of get down pat, so that when somebody asks you like, oh, what do you sell? Or what do you do? You're able to say a quick 5 to 7 word answer that gets to the point concisely and clearly. So an example of when I was developing my company called VimBand, our team kind of came up with the line of when somebody asks us like, what do you do, or what is VimBand? We would just say a wearable device that helps heat and cool your body. And that's it. We had so many different adjectives and other things that we could say about the product. But we were just like, it's a wearable device. It's a piece of technology that, that's a phrase that a lot of people are familiar with. And it can heat and cool your body. It can help heat and cool your body. And that's sort of what we decided we were going to stick with. Another piece I want to emphasize here is that, you should show your potential investors a picture of or give them an actual product to handle. So you can see me and one of my co-founders and the CEO of the Whole Prize, Ahmad Ashkar, we're just putting it on him to show him directly, like, we can give him the one-liner, but if you have a prototype or you have a product, just put it on them and show them exactly, what it is that you're doing, right? So make sure you talk to your team and you sort of work out like, what is our one-liner, or like I said before, when I was talking about a concise pitch, like, what is our one-liner? What is our 30-second pitch? What if, we're in a car and we maybe have like 4 or 5 minutes, So think about the ways that you're going to be able to articulate and explain your product in ways that can be easily understood very quickly. And, if you have something that you can give them or show them as a prototype, definitely have that ready to show them. And yeah, once again, like in terms of just explaining things generally, the sooner you get to the meat of the business and the meat of the product, that's, that will get investors happy. I know everybody, has a product that they love to go into all the features for, you can do this, you can do that, you can do this. But the most important thing is to just say the primary points of what the product does so that you can gain their attention, right? And I think, obviously an example of this when we were talking about Steve Jobs earlier was, when he talked about the iPhone, he sort of just isolated music, internet, and phone. That was it. It says it's a device that can go on the music, listen to music, go on the internet, and you can make calls, right? He didn't even go into sort of like, the app store and all the apps that you can download. He didn't really go into, oh, it has a calculator too. It has its own clock. You can set alarms, it has a calendar. Like, these are all great features of an iPhone, but, you need to isolate the very, very core value that your product brings. And then later when they're asking questions, you can dive in and show them and have them see sort of all the different features of the product. This is an example of what we thought was like a very complicated product and how we were able to distill it sort of simply in a slide. So all we did was isolated, it's just like cooling modules and heat dispersion. There's a battery and there's a wristband. Right? And we just isolated, yes, it's rechargeable. There's an adjustable band and an adjustable temperature. And we just included images, right? So we didn't have like, here are the 20 features of the Vim band. We just had, the primary things that we wanted to isolate. The fifth thing is letting the investors know exactly how are you unique. And this is an important piece. This is going to be one of the top questions that I think that investors will ask and that other people that are interested, after you give your pitch will be asking, how are you different than your competition? How are you different than, what people are already doing? If you're not providing anything or producing anything that's different from, just a generic widget, you need to go to the drawing board and design something that you think is going to be so unique that, it can't be replaced. It's something that you are able to provide that no one can get anywhere else, right? So I think another important piece here is that you want to think about, well, who's your competition? you know. And obviously, one of the rookie mistakes that my team and I made was, saying very early on, oh, we don't have competition, or, there's nothing that we're really up against. But there always is, there's always a something that people are doing at the moment that is preventing people from trying your product, right? So it doesn't have to be a company. Your competition isn't always a company. It could just be, what people are currently doing at the moment that they're not, using your product for, right? So obviously for a Vim band, that's a wearable device that helps heat and cool your body. People have jackets, people have AC units. People have, just general ways that they're able to help, cool down or warm up, like fans when they're needed to help regulate their body temperature, right? So in our pitch, we were able to incorporate and attack head on, the problems with the air conditioning when it comes to saving the environment, or the problems with all the electricity that fans use, or, the hassle of always having to carry an extra jacket around if it's not that, if it's not that cold outside, but you might need to heat up a little bit. It's like this time of the year for me, I guess, in like Maryland, it's like, I don't always have to go outside and wear a jacket, but it is a little chilly that, I might need to warm up a little bit, right? So think about those situations with your team, and settle, sit with that idea for a little bit to really consider, what your competition is and how you can, address the competition and address it head on in your speech, or in your pitch rather. Yeah. So the sixth piece that I want to talk about of the Magic 10 is customers. So in your pitch, you want to be very, very, very specific on how you will get your customers. A common, misconception, or I wouldn't even say misconception, but, thought that a lot of people have is that, well, if this is the greatest product in the world, which I'm sure a lot of you have like very great ideas, that people will just buy it, or people will just order it or use the service, it'll just come to them. But I think that it's very hard as an entrepreneur to think about, okay, you're actually going to have to market, this product, and you're actually going to have specific avenues and ways to get to customers. People don't just show up wanting your product, contrary to popular belief. I feel like products don't sell themselves, actually. You sell the product. So investors have to see a very airtight strategy for getting the product to market. And what that looks like is planning, your marketing strategy, thinking about the different customer bubbles that you want to target. Who is your primary target market? And don't, and this is important too. Don't just think everybody will use the product. That might be true, but you need to make sure that you have a marketing strategy that says, this is our most important audience, and we're going to target them first. Then after that, there's this audience, which we'll get to them this way. And then the third, tertiary audience, will get to them this way, right? So you want to have a very, very specific way of getting to each of the different customer groups, so that when you present it to the investor, they're not worried about their money, going down the drain because you can't sell your product, even though it's really good, right? Business success ultimately comes down to marketing. So if you have a marketing idea, method, technique, or process, you want to showcase that in your pitch, and tailor it into your story. Sort of, it fits right in at the end, right? It's like, this is the problem, this is the solution. How are we going to get it out to people, right? So great segue to the next magic number 7, is money, right? So how will you get it to them, and how will you make money? Now, this is also a very important piece that investors are going to be looking at and considering when investing in your product, right? Everybody has, a service or a product, whether it's software, hardware, whatever it is, that has to make money, right? And the thing about it is that every company does not make money the same way, right? So you need to put time to this. Think about like how are you generating revenue? Is it a subscription? Is it a one-time purchase? Is it licensing? Is it, you're giving package deals? And think about how this will make investors feel, right? Investors love recurring payments. So, subscriptions are always great because it's like you always have, money coming in, and you don't have to worry about selling your product and then losing a customer, the next year. Subscriptions always bring them back. Or, package deals where, people are encouraged to incentivized to buy more because they can get a discount for it. Or even think about add-ons, right? So, Apple sells the Apple Watch, but they also sell, different wristbands, different cases that go with it, that you might change your mind and say, hey, I want this case. Or even with your phone, you might want to buy a new phone case from Apple or from other retailers. So think about, how you will generate revenue. And this is tough because pricing is important. I think pricing is a very important piece of how you generate revenue, because you want to think about sort of like the psychology of pricing and what different prices mean to people. Why are things always 99, or why are things, even, like why does Warby Parker, sell their glasses for just $75? It's not $69.99, it's not $74.99, it's 75. And how does that communicate trust to different customers, right? So think about these things, and also think about, in terms of pricing, who will be our customers if we set our price at $100 versus $200, right? And will we be maximizing the audience that we know will buy our product if we set the price too high, or if we set the price too low? Remember that pricing also communicates quality in some instances, right? So, everybody knows that iPhones prices are skyrocketing, and Apple computer prices are high. And it's part of sort of their brand to say, this is a very high quality product. This is something that, designers have spent, years and years working on to put together. And that's what they feel that the product is worth. So, but also they're not going to be, getting a lot of customers because it may be out of their price range, right? So think about all these different things that I sort of just laid out in terms of, what the price communicates to the potential buyer, and, think about exactly how you will communicate to the investor, how you will generate revenue, what's your strategy, and how you'll grow. So I think this is just like a great side, just because it sort of shows like, okay, with the investment, where is this revenue coming from? How you can continue to innovate and grow your revenue, which is important. Obviously you'll have one product, but if it is like a subscription, like where are these customers going in the future? And once again, ties back to marketing, right? So yes, this is, like I said, just a very important piece that, like I said, ties to marketing. How you market, how you get the money. Yes, this is important. So the eighth piece that I want to talk about is dressing for success. Now this is sort of deviating from a lot of the technical stuff I was sharing earlier, but this is also important because whether you don't want to judge a person by how they look, but everybody does it, right? It's like we all have, implicit thoughts or biases or, assumptions that we make about people based on how they dress. And business is actually very unique for this, right? Because I know like a lot of times, it's like I work at Facebook, right? And we don't wear suits to work. Everybody's dressed pretty casually. You can wear pretty much whatever you want. You can have tattoos. Like it's a different work environment than saying like, maybe the finance industry, right? Where, I have friends that are going to work in suits every day. So especially when you're an entrepreneur, you want to think about, what is the message that we're sending to people with the clothes that we're wearing? And not only that, you want to think about how you and your team can coordinate and, sort of be a cohesive unit in terms of how you dress. And I saw this like a lot in the whole prize competition that I was in. You would see, even if you look at sort of the videos that you may find online, a lot of the teams are either dressed pretty much the same, or they have like some sort of theme across the way that they dress. And this not only communicates how you want to be perceived, but also the attention to detail that you put into things. So, the investors will know that you care about the detail in your products and your business, all the way down to the way that you dress when you present yourself, right? So think about, how you'll dress, and if you want to wear a suit, or if you want to dress a little more casual. I would typically say that, early startups, looking for investment, unless you're like a very, very, new tech company that is only pitching to people that are, in that industry already, that, already know sort of the culture of the more casual vibe, suits are typically a little bit more suited for that. But, I'll show you an example. My team, for a lot of our pitches, we would sort of blend the two, right? So we would wear a suit jacket, and sort of either khakis or suit pants, and, wear our company shirt. So it was like a combination of, casual and professional. We didn't have like a button down or blouse or tie. We communicated that, yes, we are serious about, this competition and the funding and the investment, but we're also true to our brand and ourselves, and showing them that, this is how you want to communicate ourselves. We are people that, are open, we're empathetic, and we sort of thought that, the clothing that we wore to represent this would be sufficient, right? So definitely think about, talk to your team about like, okay, like what is going to be our wardrobe, and what is going to be sort of like how we decide to present ourselves, because that's really important. And yes. So the ninth piece that I want to talk about, sort of going back to the pitch, itself, is making sure you talk about your team. And this also kind of connects like what I was saying about what you're wearing and how you dress. But make sure that you talk about your team and your pitch, and talk about why your team is, the most suited for pushing this idea to get the investment, right? And I think a great piece of advice is, we're obviously all sort of young entrepreneurs, right? None of us have been in the industry for 20 years and have been, at like, 10 different companies. And we decided that after working at, Google for 10 years and working in engineering for another 10, that we were going to start a company. Like this is not, our typical stories for a lot of young entrepreneurs. But I would say that we all still have our unique value, right? So the same way that I sort of, outlined in the beginning that, I'm also an artist, and also an entrepreneur. I think that sort of gives me the opportunity to say, I always pay attention to detail, and I always care about design, and I always care about, communicating a message in a certain way that will reach an audience, and reach the audience in the right way. So, that's why, as a part of my team, I was the one pretty much responsible for designing the slide decks, designing the logo, designing, the shirts, and doing a lot of the structuring around the way that we would communicate our pitch. So I think that, no matter who you are, you obviously started the company, you obviously have your idea for a certain reason. Think about why you had that idea, or think about why you're passionate about your team's idea, and think about like, okay, so obviously I'm passionate about it. What does that say about the value that I bring to the team? What does that show potential investors that says that, okay, like, Gustavo or Bruna is well suited to pitch or to have this business idea or to have this business plan, right? So you want to make sure that you are giving your team weight. Give your team value. You don't be afraid of saying, like, we're the best team to push this idea forward, just because you don't have, like I said, 20, 30 years of experience in the field. You want to make sure that you show them that people are first and ideas are second. And that's sort of a theme with this tip too, is that investors invest in people before they invest in the business. I remember watching like Damon John from Shark Tank on Instagram talking about, he's like, if I don't like the person, like, we're not going to work together. I don't care how great the business idea is. And this is the same for business teams. It's the same for other investors that are looking for companies to invest in. They look at you as a person, sort of encompassing everything that I talked about. They look at how you dress, they look at how you communicate, how much you're able to really explain your product in an efficient way. They sort of take you as a person and think, okay, this is somebody that I can invest in. So, don't be afraid to toot your own horn and your team's accomplishments, especially if they relate to what it takes to start and scale your venture. So let them know why you're the right people. And even if they don't, invest in your company or give you the money because of who you are, because of the company, they still might invest in a future venture because of who you are. And I think that that's really important to know, is that, sometimes you may not have the right idea, but you may have the right team or the right personality that the person that is investing in you says, keep me posted. I want to know what you do in the future so that we can work together and I can see how I can help you. So very important to talk about your team and your personality. The final piece that I want to talk about with the magic tips is to talk about your traction. So this also fits into the end, in terms of order. I would probably talk about traction before I talked about my team. That's usually more of a closing slide or a closing statement. But yes, talk about your traction. So share some of the successes that your team has had since the inception of your company. It's honestly, left out of a lot of pitches, and it's something that's very important to show the investors how hard you're working. So this picture, I wouldn't have a picture like this in a pitch deck, but this is sort of just to show you like what traction is, right? So it's like, this is when you started it. This is you joined Y Combinator, hacking Craigslist, hiring photographers. Like this is sort of how you want to explain to investors, like, we've been working really hard over the past 2 years or 3 years. And, we started just going door to door selling and people liked it. So then we decided to hire some people and build a larger infrastructure. So this is really important for investors to see, not only how dedicated you are, but, how efficient you can be in working towards your goal and how efficient you can grow, right? Because investors don't want to invest in sort of stable companies. They want to make sure that they're investing in something that's growing. So yes. So Regina says that traction can only be measured by the money you've earned by selling, or is there another indicator? So that's only one example, right? So money you've earned by selling is only one example. So there are other indicators. Traction is really just your story, right? It's like, where did you start? Where did you get to next? And where are you going? So obviously investors would love to see sort of the money you've made, but I would honestly put that in a separate category from traction. That's really honestly just like financials, right? It's like, okay, this is how much money we've made by selling the product. traction I see as more of sort of the ways that you sort of bootstrapped in the beginning to see how you went from, absolutely nothing to something to a little bit more, and you were able to grow the company from there. So that was a great question, though. And Julia said, should we talk about our team and traction before presenting our project? I know. I would talk about your traction and team at the end. So just so you all know now, and I'll lay this out here, this is sort of how I would frame the pitch, right? And this is the order that I would give. So just like a story, you have in the beginning the opening where it's this is why we were inspired to do this, or you have like an imagine this situation. You remember how like the Pixar story had like once upon a time. It's like imagine this, or just think about the world right now, and you draw them in. And after you draw them in, you say, it's like, what if we had something that did X? And at that point, you present your product and you briefly go over what the product does. Like I said, don't go into all the details, just like Steve Jobs said, phone, internet, music. Like I said with VimBand, it's like rechargeable, cooling, and I think those are like really the only things that we isolated: rechargeable, cools, and heats. And after that, you talk about any sort of, this is like after that, it's like sort of like an ambiguous space. So you can talk about your financials after that. You can talk about maybe research that backs up the idea. If it's like more of a scientific product like we had, we had to really dive into like, research and other examples. And after talking about that is when you can talk about traction. And I would talk about traction there. And then after that, I would talk about your team. So, and also in that sort of ambiguous space is like where you talk about, this is how we're selling the product, the important stuff. This is our market. This is our customer. This is how we're generating revenue. Like all the meat and stuff goes after you introduce the product. So Luis asked, if we don't have a track record, can we use a competitor's success story and say where we want to focus? So give me a little more. So are you saying, saying where you want to focus that differentiates yourself from them? Because I would say that, I wouldn't really talk about maybe a competitor story too much, but maybe the track record of a company that's maybe in your same industry and how they've progressed, right? So I wouldn't include it in my pitch deck or my slides, but maybe if there's a question that was asked, saying like, how do you expect to go from, selling 50 this year to selling 1,000 next year? And you can say, well, actually this industry, the way that this industry works is that, once you sort of get, 50 customers, the word of mouth is really good in this industry to the point where, we're able to get 1,000 next year, right? So depending on if it's like a service that you're selling, depending on exactly like I'm saying, like what industry it is, that can sort of help you answer the question of like investor skepticism around, feasibility of you being able to grow. So. And also like if you don't have a track record in terms of, maybe you just started recently, I honestly feel like it doesn't have to be big things. Your traction and track record doesn't have to be, I joined an accelerator or I like, I did like this like super big thing. It could simply be like, even if you've only, done your idea or startup for like say a week even, right? It could be you had the idea at first and then you sort of like developed a 10-page business plan, and then like 3 days later, and then like by the end of the week you were able to get in contact with 5 people in the industry that are willing to talk to you about the feasibility of the product, right? So it could be very, very simple things like that, of just like even like communicating with people that are important, or you know, the fact that you were able to do something. Um, that's definitely that's definitely still traction. Of course, of course. Does anyone else have any questions before we sort of transition? Um, I want to make sure that we do some of the activities, but also make sure that I answer any questions that you all have about this, because we're gonna build off of this for the next part.
We can take it as a no.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
can keep writing. Okay,
What's
no
that?
questions. Yeah, no questions.
Okay. So I know that I've sort of been talking for a long time, so I thought before we jump into the activities, we can take a quick break and come back in 10 minutes. So I think it'll be 12:05. So if we could take a quick break, and I over this period too, I would try to sort of look at, if you were taking notes, like sort of look at your notes and see what's, you know, standing out, or if you have any questions, feel free to chat them during the break or after. Um, and then we're going to go into our activity. So let's reconvene at 12:05.
Okay. Should we stay here? Should I just? Oh, I can play your music.
Oh, that would be so nice.
I have it ready. And what are friends for?
Thank you. Yes, you're the best.
Huh? Hi. So you're coming back, or
You said what?
you're coming back, or they
Yeah.
can chat with you privately?
Yeah. I'm saying I'll stay here on the meeting if that's what you're saying.
Hola Martín. Esa es su música, es que hace como de todo, entonces está cool. ¿Qué tal? So, Ryan?
Yeah.
I'm going to turn a little bit on this. He's Martin, he's our facilitator for the session, so he's actually taking notes of everything.
Oh, okay.
And I just wanted him to know you, and well, you guys meet. Like, it's actually cool.
Hello, Martine. Nice to meet you. Nice to see you here.
Oh, you're on mute. You're in. Estás en silencio, Martín.
Sorry about that. It's nice to have you here, Ryan.
Thank you.
We are so pleased that you're here, and thank you for your effort in order to explain how to be front an audience and explain what our efforts goals and do it by a very successful way. So thank you, thanks a lot. It's not easy always to stand up front a big audience, or maybe investors or clients or so on. So thanks to put this in a very accessible way.
Oh, for sure. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm so excited that I have this opportunity. So happy as well.
Okay.
Awesome.
I like a lot what's the name for that? The distribution map of the revenues. I like it a lot because that's a topic that I have always had trouble to explain.
Yeah.
So, okay, the company is having revenues. What else? What did they use it for? And so that map was awesome. It's a very
Yeah.
clever. So, sorry to miss the first part of the meeting because I was driving. So I had so bad connection on my cell phone, so it was
Oh.
hard
No worries.
to reach you.
No worries, Martin. Everything is recorded.
Oh, fine. That's fine.
Oh, should I pause the recording? I should, right?
Post to what? What recording? This one or another?
It's for the foundation. Okay, they can edit whatever they want, no?
Okay.
I just want to promote Ryan's music. It's really cool.
Yes.
Are you a musician?
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh,
I'm gonna send them your Instagram. Is that okay for you?
yes, that would be great. Thank you.
yes.
Here, I'll send
I like a lot the music, but I am a very bad performancer. So, but I am a very good listener. So
well, that counts just as much.
I'm better hearing than playing.
I'll send my link.
It's a coffee time here.
Ryan, Elliot is saying hello.
What's that?
Elliot is saying hi.
Oh, tell him I say hey. I miss him.
I'm gonna take a picture. He says he misses you too. The thing, Martin, is like sometimes we talk a lot about this, but when he was competing in the accelerator, I mean, we lived together, like all the teams and of course the staff and everything, like in this castle in London. So that's why we met. That's where we met, and it was like really, really cool. I think it was one of the best experiences.
Yeah, super fun.
Oh, are you gonna share your deck, Ryan?
Oh yes. Do you want me to send it to you, or how can I share it?
Yeah, you can send it to me, and I will send it to the team
Okay, great.
when the video is.
You know, we can use this as a time to help refine whatever you all are working on. So, first question that I want to ask, and feel free if you want to like communicate with, you know, if you have other teammates on the call, you know, if you want to like message them personally or privately, you know, take a minute or two to share your story. And it doesn't have to be long. It can be a sentence, it can be 2 sentences, or if you want to write more, that's fine. But I think the first thing that I emphasized was having a story. So I'd love to hear whether that's why you started your company, or why you had the idea in the first place. Like, what was the story that began the entire idea? Or what's the story as to why your idea or product is so important? So if you want to take a minute or two, like I said, feel free to chat with the teammates, or if you just want to send your own message on behalf of yourself. I'd love to sort of hear what your story is for your particular idea or company. So I'll give it, like a minute or two, and I'll go through whatever you all decide to share. Like I said, it doesn't have to be super long. It can just be a sentence. It can be 2 sentences or 3, whatever you think is important or relevant in sharing, what your story is. And you can also turn your microphone on, yeah, if you wanna share it vocally. So anyone, feel free to jump in. This is, like I said, very casual. If I would say, yes, no order. If you have an idea, I would just like unmute yourself and start talking, and hopefully there's not too many interruptions. But feel free to just speak up whenever.
Can I say it?
I did not hear what was.
Can I say it?
Yes,
About
yes.
our story? Okay, I'm Evelyn. I'm Brazilian, and my project is EcoSocial. This project started last year. Me and my team, we are developing this project, and we started this in school, in the first year of high school. And we started with the aim of helping the environment with recycling. So the idea is connect people who wants to recycle with entrepreneurs that can help them. So we are thinking about develop an app and do this connection between them.
Awesome. And who is that again? Sorry, I didn't see your name.
Excuse me?
What's your name, or how do you say your name?
My name is Evelyn.
Evelyn. All right, Evelyn, nice to meet you. So I love that story. First, I love the idea. I definitely, I'm always excited to hear about, projects and companies that hope to impact and help the environment, because that's definitely like a top thing that is needed in our world, and also what we were trying to address with VimBand. So definitely excited to hear that. Yeah, so I think this is a great story. I think, so you shared EcoSocial, started last year, aim of helping the environment with recycling, and you want to connect people who recycle with entrepreneurs. This is great. So I think I'll give you maybe a couple tips to maybe spice it up and make it a little better for the future. So I would love to hear maybe, if you're very like personally invested into the project, why you care about, the environment so much, or why, the world should care about the environment. So maybe if you have, a statement that you want to say about, the direction our world is going when it comes to the way that people have been recycling and how that's negatively impacting our environment. I'd love for you to share something that's, it doesn't have to be personal, but maybe just like a story that ties it all together, right? Because I think I got the details of like, what exactly you're doing with the app, but I'd love to hear even more, about why, and sort of like going back to like the Disney movies, like there's always like so much emotion in them. There's always a love story. There's always something that falls through the cracks. You know what I'm saying? So I'd love to sort of get a bit of that, you know, emotion or just like other, you know, inspiration as to why you sort of started it. I think that's great. Other piece of advice, not really advice. I would just love to hear more about it, but you know, we'll have other activities and questions, so I'm sure I'll hear more about what the app does. But yeah, great job. Whoever wants to speak up next, go right ahead.
Regina, no, is Luisa.
Hi. So me and my team, we first of all, we loved your your presentation, but we kind of realized that a lot of people here in São Paulo, because of quarantine, especially started like eating really bad, like, and like the habits, like the habits, the feeding habits they had that weren't good, they got even worse. And considering that we are in quarantine because of like a virus, and a virus that is dangerous, and if you don't eat properly, your immune system goes like, it gets bad, and it's not good for your immune system. We thought of something that could help people eat better. So our project's name is called Colheita Feliz, which like fast translating like happy crops, but it's for domestic use. So it's something that, it's a little device that can transform any like pot of plants that you have into a smart garden, and that can automate this garden. And also with the integration with an app, you can see which vegetables and plants are good for what, and you can see recipes, and you can also connect to other people that have the device.
Wow, awesome. Well, thank you, Melissa. That's definitely a great idea. I can definitely understand the eating habits becoming worse personally, but yeah, this is awesome. I first want to say that I really enjoyed how you gave me the picture, right? So you know, obviously with quarantine going on, you know, eating habits are getting worse, and eating habits, you know, even before quarantine, were not necessarily the best, right? And it's hurting our immune system. And you all have a solution that I would even say is like environmentally friendly and helps the environment in terms of, you know, having their own smart gardens and being able to eat healthier. So once again, I like the story and I like the company. The only thing, you know, maybe I would say that I would add is once again, like, you know, if you have a personal why, you know, I think that a lot of times, you know, you know, I look to Steve Jobs or just like, you know, people that go on Shark Tank that have, you know, able to bring their own personal life into it. So, you know, just to tell it like a Disney story, like, you know, I've been in quarantine for 8 months now, or I guess, you know, 7 months or whatever. And, you know, before I used to eat pizza and, you know, a lot of chips and other unhealthy foods and stuff like that. And I saw that, you know, after quarantine, this just continued to get worse, and I ate X, Y, and Z. And it came to me to think, you know, what can I do to help myself and other people that, you know, can also be something that's beneficial for them and the environment. And I think that that would be like an interesting way to tie it in. But that's really the only thing I'd say. Like I think like you do have, you know, sort of a storyline with the with, you know, because of quarantine and everything, eating habits are getting worse. You have like the immune system discussion. So really good. But you know, just like that personal piece, I feel like would add like a sparkle on top.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Who's next?
Regi.
Okay. Hi, Ryan.
Hi.
So we are doing Muevetex, and it started because, well, I was user of the public transportation, and I used to make 1.5 hours to get to the school when the average time in car is 30 minutes. So I had very bad experiences in the public transport and decided that instead of complaining about the problem, I had to do something to change the things. And then I met my team that they didn't only have like the same problems, but they had the knowledge and, well, like the same energy to develop a solution. So we are doing a mobile app where you can establish like where you are and where you want to go. And the app will tell you which route is the better one to get to your destiny, and, well, faster and like more safe. And with the mobility data obtained, we offer a consultancy service to the public transport enterprises so they can reschedule their trips based on the demand and improve the urban mobility.
Wow. Wow. That was great. I definitely am like, I'm seeing like you incorporated a lot of what I've been talking about. So definitely props to you. I mean, you hit it right on the nose. You had, I think I want to highlight too, like, I love the personal story. I love like just drawing me in. It's like building a relationship between the investor and the person, right? It's like, I'm learning about you, I'm learning about your lifestyle, I'm seeing what type of person you are, and seeing firsthand you went through the struggle that you are trying to address. And then I loved when you brought in your when you met Martine and said that he was having or that he was able to help solve the problem, right? So I think that that's an important piece too. So like, not only personal story but relationships. I think that like these are the ingredients to like a Disney or Pixar movie, right? Or like a Steve Jobs keynote, right? It's like you share a little bit about yourself, you share a little bit about a struggle that you see in the world, and you sort of open up the realm as to what's possible. And I love that you didn't even just stop at the roots. It's like, it's also, you're working with the transportation agencies with like consulting and other tasks. So yeah, I mean, I don't really have too much to critique there. I thought you really hit that on the nose. And if you're able to like tie that into your pitch, like, that would be awesome.
Cool. So Nayara,
Thank you.
Of course.
Hi, Ryan.
Hi.
So my team and I are college students that work part-time. So we work 6 hours a day, and we study from 7:40 a.m. to 1 p.m. We have absolutely no time in our hands. We are very exhausted. We have a lot to do. And one of the tasks that we had to do weekly is go to the supermarket. I live by myself and I don't drive. So going to the market requires lots and lots of planning. And if I go to the market and the market is full in pandemics, I have no time to stay on the line. I cannot get sick because, as I said, I live by myself. If I don't work, no one will work for me. If I don't go to school, no one will go to school for me. So I sometimes lost my trips to the market that I planned so carefully, and I got home without the money that I lost going to the market and without the products that I needed. So this is an issue that all my colleagues have and that we saw that a lot of people have. So we're developing an app that's called No Queue. The main goal was not to get a line when you're going to the supermarket. The app will warn you if it was 75% full, if it was 50% full, how much time would you spend on the line in this market. But after talking a while, we decided that this was not the root of the problem. It is an issue, but the root of the problem is that sometimes you go to the market and you don't know where the things are, and you have to search for them. So we thought maybe adding a little feature like a map from the supermarket where you could find where are things exactly, so you don't have to keep walking around. And after talking to Pilar, we think that maybe this is not the only issue. Maybe the issue is that we're going to the market because we don't have good delivery systems here in Brazil for supermarkets. They always add a fee for you, or they take 2 or 3 days, and sometimes you need that thing right now. So our main goal is to, how do you say, less the time that you spend going to the supermarket, and so you can not lost your trip, and at the same time you can get whatever you need whenever you need. We have a lot of places to go right now, and we're still thinking it through, because we had a meeting this morning, so we're thinking it through. But that's basically it. Our main goal is to lessen the time that you expend going to the market, because COVID is a very serious issue, and you cannot expend your time being sick because of it.
Wow. I mean, y'all just keep getting better and better. That was another good one. I definitely, like I said, I enjoy the personal aspect of it. The fact that you're a college student, you're working 6 hours a day and you're only being alone. I think that alone is like something that will get people's attention and say, okay, this is about to be something where it's a very serious problem. Whatever she's going to say, it's a very serious problem that, needs a solution to, right? So, and I think you did a great job transitioning into, going to the supermarket, and, a lot of people might be there or are there. They can't get sick. Sometimes you can't even get the food that you want. And, you kind of also had like a multiple pronged solution to the problem, right? So I think that's a unique piece that you brought into this conversation is, and I think, I think we also saw that earlier. But, I think that the personal piece is great. I think that you did a great job weaving in everything together to sort of tell it like a story, like once upon a time, all of a sudden, and then I had the idea, and then, this is also something that comes along with it. Like, I think that like you're hitting it on the nose, like once again, with the story structure. So props to you. That was really good.
Thank you so much.
Of course. All right. Who do we have next?
Pedro.
All right.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Pedro, what's up?
What's up? So, our project it started as a homework for our school. So we didn't take it very seriously. We just do it for the grade,
Yeah.
So, but then me and my team we enter in Wadvani, and then we started to develop a little bit more, about that project. And so we identified the problem. And what was the problem? The problem that we saw, it was that mostly of people, and mostly are women, don't feel very safe, receiving a stranger at their home to do some kind of services, just like fix their sink or paint their walls and those kind of stuffs. And our goal would be to provide, a little sense of security and quality to the work that they would be receiving. And then we would create an app that could connect people, the service provider and the people, to know who is going to get in their houses, what they're going to do, and all those kind of stuffs.
Awesome. Wow. Okay. So once again, really good job. I think that this is definitely an important service to have, first of all. So yeah, I just think it's a great issue. Like the other, I mean, this is obviously just like a great group. I mean, they definitely selected a great group of students. So um, I think that the way that you started was perfect. The way that you sort of introduced and transitioned into the topic of like having strangers in the home during services, doing services, and having, you know, an efficient way to connect people to the service providers to at least sort of get a little bit more information about what's going on, you know, who the person is, etc. So I thought that was great. You know, I think that maybe you can even add a piece about, you know, if it's not like too personal, or if it's not, you know, too much of a bad story, you can like give an example of like, you know, bad outcomes that happen when without the service, right? So, you know, what happens when, you know, a stranger comes into your house doing services, and, you know, some like things get stolen or something goes missing, you know, like maybe like if you had examples of that, like that would spice it up a little bit more too. That would be interesting to hear about. But yeah, once again, like I think that you had the once upon a time, you know, suddenly, you know, we're encountering this, and then luckily you sort of came up with this idea. So yeah, great job again.
Thanks for the advice, man.
Of course.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Luis.
Well, hi. First of all, thank you for this presentation. It was very awesome to know a little bit more of this topic. And well, my team is Nelwayotl, which means root in Nahuatl. And there is an indigenous language in Mexico. And we started with an idea from the experience of a relative of one of our members, where he suffered from the conditions that I am going to mention when selling coffee in Oaxaca, Mexico. And what we want to solve is to have a fair treatment between artisans and clients, in addition to having greater recognition and a fair payment with the help of e-commerce. We are very interested, and we see an opportunity, since we are the third country in the world in the production of handicrafts. And there are more than 10 million people in Mexico dedicated to this work.
Wow, that's really good. Yeah, I think that once again, like the personal connection is good. Personal experience, like selling the coffee, and I think you also did something interested that hasn't, you know, actually I don't think I've heard so far, as like bringing in like numbers. This is something that I did, especially when I was talking about, you know, AC usage across the world. You know, how does that affect our environment? You know, so I think that giving numbers is so important. You know, if it's just a number you can drop to say this is how impactful, you know, we are, you know, third in the world in terms of producing this coffee. And you know, I think you did a great job introducing the e-commerce way of helping payment. You know, I think the only advice I would give here is now that you bring up numbers, an interesting thing to do with numbers to help people grasp big numbers is to try to make an analogy. So, you know, 10 million is a lot. I don't think like anybody, well, maybe some very, very smart, a lot of you all are very smart, so probably you might, but I cannot see like 10 million people. Like, I don't know exactly what that looks like in my mind, or 10 million whatever. Is like, it's hard for me to imagine. So if you're able to say like, that's, you know, 5 of these, or that's like, you know, that's the same amount of something that we are all sort of more accustomed to, I think that's a really great way to tie in, you know, some really big numbers. But yeah, that's really the only piece I have there. Great job, Luis.
Thank you very much.
For sure.
Gustavo.
Hello, Mr. James.
Hello.
I'm a student of foreign commerce here in Brazil, and the name of my team is Tropical Tradings, and I always dreamed to make the image of my country as a vanguard for its potential. and now throughout the fashion industry. I think that's possible to make a change, not just into the market, but also in the people's lives, from the small producer in the countryside to the concepts of our final customer abroad. And that's my idea.
I like it. I definitely like the idea. And I think that sort of like what I alluded to with maybe trying to do a little more like transition or personal piece, like that would give it some juice. Like I think the idea is great, and I think that the way that you introduce it is also good. I think you should start it off in a way, I used to teachers here, like, you want your essay, start off with like a hook or like a grabber. You want, sometimes that can be a personal story, like with the, I work 7:40 a.m. to 1 p.m. Or it could be, a stat, it could be a number. Try to think of something to start off your pitch or your story, I guess, with, to get people's attention, to draw them in. And then, after that, like, you have your story, like you did a great job explaining, what it is exactly. So I think you just need sort of something to hook people in at the very beginning, and then transition into what exactly you were just saying.
All right, thank you, Mr. James.
For sure. And call me Ryan, feel free. I'm like not too much older than you.
So, Omar?
Okay. Okay. I would like to share just a little my screen because I'm a little nervous, so I forgot my pitch.
Okay, so I can stop sharing my screen and then.
Okay. Share screen. Screen. Okay. Share. Okay. We are at the Paso. Can you see my screen?
I can.
Okay. Hello. We're the Paso. We are a group of geeks. We are 3 engineers, system engineers, 1 economist, and 1 industrial engineer. We were developing, well, starting by the storytelling. As a developer, I was working these 2 last years on projects of different small business and entrepreneurs clients. And well, I realized there were common factors on the most of the things and on these kind of clients. They want to have the control and management of their business and know their numbers. And at the same time, they were looking for make digital their business as soon as possible, even more with this situation of the COVID-19. So we were planning in the development of a dashboard, a powerful dashboard that can manage your business, and it's adaptive, and it can fit in the core of the many kind of business, small business. Today, here in Peru, and I guess the most of Latin America, the small business are over the 19% of the business here, and they, at least here in Peru, they are not completely digital in the digital world. The situation of the pandemic just were accelerating what it has to be done, and that is making know the needs of be on the digital world, and that's why we are working in this dashboard panel that gonna make you have and manage of your numbers of all your sales, the things you buy, the inventory, and even a dashboard with the perspective and graphics about your numbers to help you to take decisions. And a plus of the dashboard is that we're gonna to our partners or the people that is using our systems gonna have an access of a marketplace. And a marketplace, that the difference of this marketplace with the others is that it's going to how it's called it, like the ¿cómo es? Fomentar el comercio local, the local commerce gonna makes you the local commerce. I don't know if Martin or can help me with this, what is fomentar, but well, the local commerce, for example, in small cities, sometimes we use the marketplace that is for all Peru, but we're gonna find the most of the time just things of the capital of the big cities like Lima, and we can find the things of our cities, but it's not because we are not using internet or smartphone that we use a lot in small cities, but we don't feel identified with the big marketplace because more for the central cities. So we want to make a marketplace that we're focused in each small city or medium city.
Yeah, promoting small markets, right? Through e-commerce.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And well, that's it. Until now, we has developed previous version, like a beta version of this panel that makes you doesn't have just the control of your local and physical business. You have as well the control of e-commerce or a landing page that we give you as well. So you can customize your e-commerce in this same dashboard. And that's it. Until with this beta, we have sell 3 different clients, and one of them make even a rebuy. He buy us again because they like the software. And well, that's it. Thank you for.
Awesome. Wow. I definitely love that. I feel like I got the whole picture. I think, well, first, before I even go in, like, talk about design, like, I think that you definitely, you and the team, like, did a great job designing that. So props to you all there. And I think that in terms of the story that you told, I think it's good. Like, I think that maybe you can spend some more time in the beginning on like I said, like, maybe if you want to do like a little personal bid, or maybe if you want to do more of like a stat or a number or something at the beginning, like to draw us in, like that would be good. But yeah, like sort of like I said with I think it was Gustavo or yeah, I think it was that that can like really help like bring in the power that you need to start your pitch, because I think that your product is good. I think that the design, like I said, is good. So I would just add that. But yeah, thank you for sharing.
Okay, thank you. I just need to practice a lot in English, especially because I don't know too much English, so it makes me even more nervous and I forgot it. Okay, thank you so much.
No worries, you did it great, Mama.
Yeah.
So cool. Mariana and then Mateus.
Hi, Ryan. We are Ben, and our project is about gender violence. The idea was born for 2 reasons. The first one, we made a survey to ask about what problems they were facing as teenagers and why they think it is important to keep a solution. And they told us that violence. One response was because violence is claiming lives every day, and this led us to the second reason, which is that in our country, femicides are increasing every day, and we really no longer feel safe. So our idea is to create an association capable of providing support, mainly psychological, but we want to teach self-defense classes too.
Wow. Wow. Once again, like great company, great idea. And super impressed that you all like got like data yourself that you could put in. Um, I would say like just like off the top, like I think that's really good. Like the way that you all have talked to people already. That's something that I had to do with my startup. You know, we went out and interviewed a bunch of people to talk about our product and everything, and that was, you know, essential to helping us. So, you know, that's great. And I like how you started off with that. So props to you there. You know, I think that, you know, maybe the only other thing I would add is and this isn't even really part of the story, but I feel like you could maybe give me a little bit more about the maybe if it's services you provide or if it's a platform, like, you know, having a little one-liner that you could follow it up with, you know, so I can get a little bit more detail there. But, you know, other than that, generally, I think that you did a great job, you know, isolating sort of the data that you all got. And, you know, making it sort of like making it your own, because you did talk to those people. So, yeah, that's the only thing I would add, but good job overall.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Cool, Mariana. And Matthias.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
So first of all, me and my group only have the idea at the moment.
Okay.
Do you know about tabletop RPGs?
I don't think so.
Well, RPGs are it's our acronym for role-playing games. Role-playing games is like a game like Dungeons and Dragons, where there's a lot of interpretation and a lot of imagination included. The players get through a story so they can have fun together, meet new people, make friends. And these type of games are very popular, but they have a problem. It's very difficult to meet people and play along with your friends, match schedules, everything that's like it. So the idea we have is to make a tabletop tavern, a thematic place so the people can go there to play this kind of games, meet new people. It doesn't need to be only RPGs, it can be any other type of board games, so they can have fun together and have a good time in general.
Really good. Love the idea. And I think that, you know, I like the way that you tie in, you know, RPGs and tabletop tavern as a name. It's really cool. I would say, you know, I'd love to hear if you started it off with like, you know, either you asking, well, not like actually asking, maybe like rhetorically asking me about like, you know, what about like, how's your favorite experience been on the road or playing a game like at the dinner table or after dinner, you know, or maybe like you just recounting your own experience, right? It's like, you know, I remember, you know, the one thing that I looked forward to as a kid with my family were the games that we would play after dinner or with my friends, you know, on a road trip. It's like, these are the things that make life fun. You know, what if we
Yes.
brought that to a tavern, and that's sort of like how you introduce it? I think that would be cool. But yeah, other than that, like I said, like I think I love the idea, and I love the way you explained it too.
Thank you very much.
For sure.
Cool. Yeah, all of them. That's for now, so we can move.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much. I definitely enjoyed sharing with you all, and thank you all so much for sharing your stories. I really enjoyed hearing about all the awesome businesses you all are working on, so keep it up. I left my email here. If you want to email me at any time, and obviously you have my Instagram too, so you can DM me anytime. You know, I'm always happy to help. If you want to send something my way, if you want feedback, like don't be afraid to reach out seriously at all. You know, I love hearing about all the new ideas that are going on. And hopefully you all gain something from this and can improve your pitch, tell a better story, and really get that investment that you need. So thank you all once again so much.